Unidentified anomalous phenomena, UAPs. They are a hot topic, as you might know, on Capitol Hill. But really, it's nothing new. Consider this headline from the New York Daily News in 1952. Jets chase D.C. sky ghosts as air traffic controllers at Ronald Reagan Washington National Airport here across the river spotted 7 unidentified flying objects in the sky. Here we are 72 years later, and we're still grappling with the question, are we alone? Lawmakers earlier today started to take critical steps towards transparency surrounding UAPs. They've really been doing it for a while. But the latest move happened with a closed-door classified briefing up on Capitol Hill. Republican Tennessee Congressman Tim Burchett, one of the top lawmakers probing the issue. He shared his frustrations with me about what he heard behind closed doors. Watch. So you just came from the briefing. Were you satisfied at what you heard? I know you.
No, my biggest thing all along, it's, obviously a lot of folks want to, it's little green men, it's flying saucers.
Right.
My concern is the tens of millions, if not billions of dollars that we've invested in the research of this issue since 1947 that we know of, and yet the federal government keeps telling Congress they don't exist, and yet obviously they're investigating something. So you think? And then when I have an admiral tell me they're real, when I have some of the top pilots in the world say they're real, I don't see why American taxpayers can't get that information.
So you think there have been billions potentially in government money that's been spent on developing something, or?
Well, I'd like to know that. Are they developing something, or have they recovered something that has allowed them to spend this much money?
When you come out of that briefing, what questions do you have?
I end up with more questions.
Every time, or just?
Yeah, always, because I always say it's like looking down the barrel of a .22 rifle. They are very specific in what they know, and it is very compartmentalized. It's like Oak Ridge National Laboratory, which I don't represent, but over 6,000 folks that work there live in the 2nd Congressional District that I represent. And they, during the Second World War, over 2,000 people were working on the bomb, and less than a half a dozen knew what they were working on, because it was so compartmentalized. I mean, husbands and wives did not know. Brothers and sisters who worked at the lab did not know because of that compartmentalization. And that's carried over into this. So say it was a recovered craft in 1947 at Roswell, New Mexico. Every person that was involved in that is dead now. And it's been passed on and passed on and passed on. And now with these private contractors who you in the press and we as Congress cannot access because they're not under FOIA, Freedom of Information Act, because they have passed it on to a private contractor. And is that by design? I don't know. But I still think we need to ask some questions, and we need to know some answers. Dadgummit, it's just going on too long, and there's no excuse for not giving us other than arrogance.
I hear you on asking questions, and that's part of your job, obviously. But I'm wondering beyond that, what comes next in your view?
Well, that's a great question. And I'm going to be working with the chairman. And since I'm not chairman of this so-called subcommittee, it is a subcommittee, I'm going to be working with them to get us an excellent list of witnesses for this next hearing. And I'm not going to release them because the last time I did that, the folks were literally told not to come.
By who?
We were told by NASA, a quasi branch of NASA, other groups. They claim they didn't do it, but the folks told me they did. And we'd asked over a dozen folks, that's 12. And we ended up with 3 excellent witnesses that put their love of this country over the love of themselves. Because obviously Grush was ridiculed. He was outed as somebody that had PTSD. And in East Tennessee, we don't make fun of people because they served their country and suffered from it. We celebrate those people, and we try to get them and support them. But in Washington, D.C., they destroy those people. And that just shows the ruthless nature, and that shows that we are over the target, that we have, as I was told, I have kicked a hornet's nest at the Pentagon.
Shalom. I would like to give our honor, glory, and praises to Yahweh, Bahashem Yahawashi Bahashem Rakakwadash. I would like to give double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone. Salutations to all you sincere Akim pushing this word out across the four corners of the world. And I have an article from dailymail.co.uk, and the title says, 2 Republican congressmen claim UFOs could be angels sent by God, as they say sightings are consistent with scriptures from the Bible. And this article was recently published on January the 17th, 2024. And it says right here, a second Republican congressman has publicly floated the idea that UFOs may be angels sent by God. Missouri lawmaker Eric Burleson, who has been privy to classified briefings on the phenomena, advanced the sensational theory on an amateur podcast this week. He stated, "They may not fit exactly the biblical narrative, but whenever I use the term angels," as he told at the UFO podcast Tuesday, "to me, it's synonymous with an extra-dimensional being." He added, "In a lot of different scriptures, including the Bible and others, that's really the way that you describe messengers of God or angels." Rep. Burleson's comments echo statements by fellow GOP Congressman Tim Burkett, who told reporters last year that he believes the first chapter of Ezekiel is pretty clear of a UFO sighting. And beginning from our elder apostles of Great Millstone and their elders as well, been pushing out this information for decades out there to the public about the so-called UFOs. These unidentifiable flying objects are indeed the chariots or the angels of Yahweh Bahashem Yahawashi, which is a major part of our glory and Abaratazat, our deliverance as the biblical Israelites within these end times. And this thing that we call life, which is the interval of time between a person's birth unto their death, is nothing but the movie of Yahweh Bahashem Yahawashi, where they are the directors of this movie, and we as the human beings are nothing but mere actors, just following the playbook or the script of Yahweh Yahawashi. Like I bring out from time to time, like within this day of time, even within Esau's Hollywood movies or TV shows, one of the main parts that the audience look forward to is the truth coming out at the end, where everything is out on the table and the facts of the matter are being declared. So again, how much more within the movie of Yahweh Bahashem Yahawashi fulfilling biblical prophecies? And where you have within today's time these so-called government figures and declaring the truth about the so-called UFOs, which are indeed the angels or the chariots of Yahweh Bahashem Yahawashi. So therefore, everything within this movie is coming out to the forefront. And that takes me right to Luke 8:17. "For nothing is secret that should not be made manifest, neither anything hid that should not be known and come abroad." Like, for example, you have the so-called Illuminati, and they consider themselves as the enlightened ones, but more so on the left-hand side. And no one really knew about these small group of so-called white men that are in council together and controlling the worldly affairs, all behind closed doors. And that's why they was known as the shadow government, because they were hidden amongst the public. And now within these modern times, you have the average person know about the so-called Illuminati. So for nothing is secret that should not be made manifest, neither anything hid that should not be known and come abroad. Which takes me right back to this article. 2 Republican congressmen claim UFOs could be angels sent by God, as they say sightings are consistent with scriptures from the Bible. And this whole so-called UFO phenomenon has been classified information for many, many decades. And where these different government figures deem this type of information to be sensitive and restricted from the public. So call Halayim Yahweh Bahashem Yahawashi, because from our elder apostles and their elders, who are the true messengers of Yahweh Yahawashi within this earthly realm, on down to us sincere Akim as well, we have been proclaiming this type of information out there to the public for many years. And this truth is hitting this devil so hard, beginning from the tabernacle Esau Edom, and more so the hierarchy of them, that they even now have to admit that these extra dimensional beings are indeed the angels within the Bible. And real quick, this is an article from BibleUFO.net, where this is going into these different government officials are coming out to the forefront and speaking about these so-called UFO sightings. And this has been going on for many, many years within America and really throughout the four corners of the world. And just to get to certain points, and right here from Gerald R. Ford, which was a U.S. representative, and he stated, "I think there may be substance in some of these reports. I believe the American people are entitled to a more thorough explanation than has been given them by the Air Force to date. I think we owe it to the people to establish credibility regarding UFOs and to produce the greatest possible enlightenment of the subject." And he stated this within March of 1966. And here's another one from Jerry L. Pettis. He was a U.S. representative, and he stated, "Having spent a great deal of my life in the air as a pilot, I know that many pilots have seen phenomena that they could not explain. These men, most of whom have talked to me, have been very reticent to talk about this publicly." And that word reticent means unwilling to speak, because of the ridicule that they were afraid would be heaped upon them. However, there is a phenomenon here that isn't explained. And he stated this on July the 29th, 1968, during the House Committee on Science and Astronautics hearing on UFOs. And there's many, many other government officials coming out to the forefront over the years and going into further details about this so-called aerial phenomenon. And by these government figures vocalizing about this so-called classified info is a heavy token of biblical prophecy being fulfilled. And that's because right here within the book of Psalm 64 verse 8, it stated, "So they shall make their own tongue to fall upon themselves. All that see them shall flee away." And this is going into these different government officials who actually sit in these dark secret councils amongst the higher ups. And in today's time, they would be considered as whistleblowers, these so-called truthers. That was once a part of these secret councils, and now they're bringing out this so-called hidden agenda or classified info to the forefront. And that takes me right to 2 Corinthians, the 13th chapter and the 8th verse. "For we can do nothing against the truth, but for the truth." And one thing about the truth, it can be hidden for a point of time, like even many years. But you best believe the truth will come back in full circle in due time. And we are definitely within those times. And a part of the truth is this so-called aerial phenomenon, or they would call it as UFO sightings, was suppressed from the public for many, many decades. And now you have all this type of information, and the Lord putting the spirit upon these devils to come out to the forefront and share this information. Which is why it's stated within the book of Jeremiah, the 49th chapter, how the Lord had made Esau bare. And by him being bare or naked, that means that he's been exposed. And when you be exposed, your secret parts are being uncovered. And everybody's finding out within this world how this so-called white man, who are the biblical Edomites, have been lying from day one. Especially within this bloody city, which is codified as America or Babylon the Great, as it's stated within the book of Nahum, that bloody city which is full of lies. So again, for we can do nothing against the truth, but for the truth. And again, and a part of the truth is the counsel of Yahweh Yahushua being declared. And that means the fulfilling of his word. And a part of the word are these so-called UFOs, which are heavily recorded within the scriptures, are the angels of the Heavenly Father Yahweh through his only begotten Son, Yahushua. And these so-called UFOs, or this aerial phenomenon, they play a major role of our deliverance as the biblical Israelites within these end times. And that takes me to the book of Matthew, the 16th chapter and the 27th verse. "For the Son of Man shall come in the glory of his Father with his angels." And that Son of Man is referring to Yahushua, which means he is the deliverer or the savior. And that's for the nation of Israel, beginning with his day ones, the hopeful elect. And a major part of his glory goes into his majestic second return in those heavenly vehicles. And according to the book of 2nd Ezra, the 13th chapter, within the Apocrypha, Yahushua is going to be standing on top of that so-called large UFO. that so-called UFO is going to be so large that the prophet Ezra stated that it was like grave out of a mountain. And according to the book of Revelation, the first chapter, it stated how every eye should see him when Yahushua comes within those clouds. So these people who are currently blind are going to receive their vision via Yahushua's second debut upon the earth, along with his host of angels. So for the Son of Man should come in the glory of his Father with his angels, and then he shall reward every man according to his works. And again, that word reward goes into the consequence as a result of worthy behavior or unworthy behavior. And that unworthy behavior is going to be by damnation, by Yahushua along with the chariots via judgment. And that worthy behavior is going to be by salvation, deliverance from Yahushua along with the chariots. So that pretty much concludes the lesson through the Spirit. And as you can see again from the title, 2 Republican congressmen claim UFOs could be angels sent by God, as they say sightings are consistent with scriptures from the Bible. And you best believe that these elites of these different nations, and especially from the tabernacle of Esau Edom, are very weary within their counsels, as it stated within the book of Isaiah, the 47th chapter. And that's because these so-called UFO sightings are associated to the downfall of Esau's rulership or his empire. Then on top of that, Yahweh Bahashem Yahushua has his true messengers out here within this earthly realm, prosecuting Esau Edom and along with his joint heirs, these other nations. Which is no wonder why this devil is going to come down with great wrath, because he knows that he has but a short time. And as you can see from the comments, 144. So Aparatazah, we are a part of that number. So with that, hopefully you all was edified, you all stay strong, keep pushing forward. Shalom.
At one point, you had said that there has been harmful activity or aggressive activity. Has any of the activity been aggressive, been hostile in your reports?
I know of multiple colleagues of mine that got physically injured, and the activity. And I got
by UAPs or by people within the federal government?
Both.
Okay, so there has been activity by alien or non-human technology and or beings that has caused harm to humans.
I can't get into the specifics in an open environment, but at least the activity that I personally witnessed, and I have to be very careful here because they tell you never to acknowledge tradecraft, right? So what I personally witnessed myself and my wife was very disturbing.